Welcome back to All Two Ego Bros. I'm Andy, that's Nick, and we're just two regular dudes doing regular reviews. And today we're going to be discussing Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. I want to give you guys a heads up though that I've never seen any of the Mission Impossible movies, which, could sound shocking to most people. If you know me, it doesn't sound surprising at all. Nick, have you seen any of them at all?
I thought I had seen the majority of them, but I was wrong.
I might know what you're talking about, but I think we're actually going to get into that topic a little bit later on. I do want a quick note though. Holy cow, Dolby Atmos theaters. I've never experienced the full immersion of a movie before like I have in this movie.
It was amazing. The chairs were rumbling. I had the opportunity finally. This doesn't happen very often, but I had nobody on either side of me and everything was shaking when action was going on. And I was like, yeah! I was on the ride, ready to go. It was so fun.
To roll along with the rumbling of the seats, I want to talk about the action in this movie. What were your thoughts about the action sequences throughout this entire movie?
I think if there's one thing that this series does right is that they know how to do action. They're all doing a majority of their own stunts, probably not all of them except for Tom Cruise, but it really does pull off magic. You can't stop Tom Cruise from making an action sequence, the most action sequence that you will ever have seen. And just when you think he can't top himself, he does.
A couple of the things that stick out to me, and I know it sticks out to everyone else, was the submarine scene and the airplane scene. I just felt like I was there at times. I felt like I could feel the wind in my face. I could hear it. The subtle changes they do with the audio effects and with the visual of the camera to give you that different perspective. It got me to the point where I'm just like, I now want to go back and watch the other Mission Impossibles, which I know you guys are probably screaming in the comment section that I should anyway.
I will say, because you have a strict rule about 2006 and beyond,
that do.
Still gives you Mission Impossible 3 to this one that you can still watch.
If you guys want to know about my 2006 rule, I'm going to explain it in our live stream at the end of the year when we wrap up our tier list. Now I'm going to have to remember that. I can't edit that out whatsoever. Let's also talk about the pacing of this movie. There are a lot of time constraints being an action movie because there's a bomb that has to go off in a certain amount of time, or you're given a certain amount of time for a deadline. How did the pacing feel to you throughout this movie?
Quick sidebar, just because I always keep track of this kind of stuff. The clock in the submarine, when they said that he only had 10 minutes to get into the submarine and get out, to the dot, 10 minutes. The bomb, however, was a bit more of a letdown. It was not concise until the last 30-second countdown. As far as the pacing in this movie, I will admit that it is slower than the other Mission Impossible movies. This is a part 2 movie, though, which I honestly didn't realize going into it. They're going to drag some things out. However, I think they did as well as they could have, given the time that they had to keep things moving along.
I realized very quickly that you needed to see the previous Mission Impossible movies before going into this one.
Yeah!
They do some flashbacks and stuff, and you can, if you're intuitive enough, you can piece it together enough to enjoy the movie, but you really miss out on a lot of the nuances. As far as the pacing goes, the very intro, I'm just like, what is the rush? Until I realized, okay, we're just trying to get caught up timeline-wise so that we can focus on just taking our time to tell the story. I am shocked to hear that you're saying this is slower paced than the other ones. I thought even the main story was very fast paced. We got to keep going. This. But I will say, when they said they have 3 days to accomplish this mission, and I pieced it together, I'm like, that's about 3 days. So I felt they were true to that. I felt the pacing was really good. Just be prepared for the very fast intro. And the last little bit I want to get into is the story. I don't know much about the Mission Impossible storyline, so perhaps you know more about it. What did you think about this story, having also learned that I guess it's part 2 of a previous story?
So kind of as you mentioned, most of these movies are fairly standalone. You could pick them up without needing to watch any of the other ones, and it is that is the story. I've not seen anything in like the latest 4 until this very last one, but I think I had enough pieced together. They pulled enough information from past movies to know who was coming into play and why certain characters were certain ways. They did explain it. It just felt a little like I was left out of the club, but that's okay. Like that was just what was going to happen.
Overall, I really did like the story in here, but if anything, this is the only place where I think it falls short. The idea of this entity taking over the world and taking over the missile complexes and stuff like that, I just felt like was very weak. I was almost like they should make a game where you take a shot every time they say the entity, because holy cow, it's like every other sentence. I'm like, is there something else we can say, or can we like create dialogue around it?
I did not like that it was called the entity. I thought that was the dumbest and the worst thing that they could have made this AI supercomputer. I also hated that part.
I'm glad you felt that way. There's a big loophole in this. I'm just like, cut the cord, man. They kept a couple times saying we can't unplug it or whatever. Like, I don't know what you mean, because there's a cable running to these missiles. You snip it. It can't stop you from doing it. It just simply can't. There's another issue I had where they're trying to find this lost submarine where they kind of have an idea where the last coordinates were. And the last time we had something similar to that was the Titanic. We knew somewhat of the vicinity of where it fell down, and it turned out to be 15 miles off of that. Just 15 miles off. And guess how long it took us to find the Titanic?
About 80 years.
Close to it. It took us 73 years to find something that was 15 miles off from where we thought it ended up crashing. I just had issues with the realism in a lot of this part of the story, but seeing past it, it still was a really good story. It bothered me, some of the stuff that just wasn't very realistic. It took me out of it a bit. Those are the main things I wanted to talk about, so I'll pose it over to you. What do you want to talk about for this movie?
Number 1, Tom Cruise knows how to make a movie. And this is one of the most movies I've ever seen. And the second thing is that Tom Cruise is getting really old. You can tell that it's starting to weigh him down a little bit more. It really does need to be like the final reckoning for Ethan in this one. And Tom Cruise needs to kind of step back and take more of a leadership role. But it's Tom Cruise. He's going to want to try and push it until he's gone.
All right, let's get into it. Rating, recommendation, go.
I gave Mission Impossible Final Reckoning an 8 out of 10, and I do recommend that you go see this in the theaters. Like I said earlier, it's the moviest movie you've ever seen at the theaters. You won't regret it.
I'm a bit higher with a 9 out of 10, and I strongly recommend you go see this in theaters. You need to go see this in Dolby, and I'm going to describe this as visually compelling, but practically unrealistic. And that gives us our channel rating of 8.5, putting it in the 8 tier.
Oh.
Nick, real quick, were there any upside down camera angles?
There were at least 5, which gives us a total of 9.
Thanks for liking and subscribing, and comment down below. Do you agree with our ratings or not?
And remember, we've just been 2 regular dudes
doing regular reviews.
He does too, getting those plays. He does too, getting those planes. It's not unrealistic. That's him. He's doing it.